So we're back with another episode of the 5 coolest mods to get released in the past week. I actually clickbaited you on this one. One of these mods is outside of this past week, but it was a really cool mod that I haven't covered yet, and it's like 2 weeks old or a little less, so I figured I'd include it in this video. This is like a totally different series than Mods Weekly. I'm definitely not putting off time because Mods Weekly 100 is supposed to be really special. I have a cool idea for it, but it's taking a while and it's finals week, so I don't have a ton of time to work on it. Again, totally unrelated. This is just a series that this is hopefully the last episode for. There may be one more, who actually knows. Either way, I'm going to be showing you some of the coolest mods. If you guys enjoy the series, you can subscribe, or you can like or comment, or actually the most helpful statistic is actually watch time. So if you want to watch through the end of this video, that is always helpful to creators, and I actually have something pretty interesting to share at the end of this one. Either way, with that, we'll just jump into the video. So to start things off, we actually have Pavos, or that's what I'm calling it. It actually is the Power Armor voiced operating system. What this is going to be is actually a little voice that comes out of Power Armor now as you enter it, and actually while you take damage in it. Obviously, with anything that's pertaining to a sound effect, I'm just going to let you guys listen to it, and then I'll give my opinions on the mod.
System starting up. Loading profile. Activate. Analyzing. Update complete. System shutting down. Analyzing. System critical.
Power armor? Great.
So I actually really like this mod. I feel like it has to be a little bit louder, and I think the mod as a whole could use some additional content to really justify that download. But as it stands right now, it's a pretty cool thing, and it actually gives you a pretty big Jarvis feel, like Jarvis from Iron Man. Again, right now, one of my biggest issues with this is how basic it is. It only is adding a few different voice lines, and none of them are super helpful. I think what would be really freaking cool is actually a culmination of this with like one of those other mods out there. Some of the mods that actually make Power Armor into its own NPC. So let's say now, after you jump out of Power Armor, it can just start acting like an NPC and help attack enemies with you, or you could choose it to carry a bunch of stuff for you. To actually give it its own working AI would be really freaking cool. Or in addition, just other things like Fusion Core at 10% or something like that. More or less what I'm trying to say is I think this mod proves itself as an extremely promising concept, but it definitely could use some work in future updates and a few more additional features. So we actually don't have a new mod, but rather a update to an existing one. That's going to be Remote Explosives 2.0. This is a pretty big mod by Fading Signal, and what this update brought to the table is quite a few just quality of life fixes, as well as actually some new content. So the most notable change with this is actually going to be the brand new explosive. That's going to be a nuke explosive. It's going to more or less have the same power as a mini nuke, and it's going to work like all the other explosives in this mod. You throw it down, you click the detonator, and well, it is by far the most powerful explosive now in Fallout 4. Speaking of power though, he actually reduced the size of many of these other lesser explosives, so C4 is not going to be as powerful as it was previously. Of course, some of you guys are going to hate that change, but I like balance in my game, so I definitely am supportive of that one. And then we have some of those quality of life changes. So there's like different framing on the items as you look at them in your inventory. Some of the weights were adjusted. The actual crafting recipes for many of these were adjusted. Previously, they would require kind of odd things that aren't typical junk, which is always annoying when mods do. Now you can build everything out of this just out of the junk items, so you don't have to worry about having one of those items at a different settlement and having to figure out which settlement that is. You will always have this at every settlement as long as you do have supply line set up. And you could actually change the color of the detonator, but I totally missed that change and forgot to record it, but it's there. All around, this is a really quality update. I personally would like to see a few more things added in the content department. It still is a great mod and adds in a whole new category into the game, but something that's cryo based I think would be a great fit and is currently lacking. Also, he does mention it should be coming out on Xbox One for the first time in the next couple days. He's just doing some bug testing with the new release on PC. So we have the 10mm Reanimation Pack. This is going to be a new mod by WarDaddy, and this is a pretty cool mod. It actually isn't as simple as some of the other animation packs out there. This is going to bring a little bit more to the table. You actually get some custom sounds, you get some other customization options. You could choose which animations you want, how close it's going to actually be to your face while you're reloading. And all around, even though some of these features are fairly minor, I really like one that you have the option to choose between some of these, and in addition, I like that it does go above and beyond just animations. At the end of the day, many of us are going to be downloading this mod to get a refreshed feel on the 10mm. Having new sounds, having new caliber types, things like that definitely add to that refreshed feel, and I actually think it does a pretty good job of understanding who's downloading this mod and why. So as for the animations themselves, I was actually really pleasantly surprised from this. They're fairly simple, they're actually a bit more aggressive than like vanilla animations or probably any of the animations that appear in Fallout 4 by default. They're definitely quite a bit faster, even without using a quick eject mag or anything like that, but again, I really do like them. I think they look pretty cool. They're not too crazy that they don't look like they would appear in Fallout, and all around I feel like this is a pretty quality mod for something that you will invariably use as you play through Fallout 4. The 10mm is like a staple of the franchise at this point, and you're pretty much always going to be seeing it. Alright, so this is actually one of the coolest mods I've seen in like a very long time. What's going to be called is Death Matters. So let's say you're in this situation. You're approaching a bunch of raiders, you start taking them on. Maybe as the combat progresses, you start to realize that, oh no, maybe you bit off a little bit too much. Your health gradually drains lower and lower, and then typically in vanilla Fallout 4, you'll die, reload at your previous save, or if you're on survival mode, reload the last time you made a hard save at a bed. Well, with this mod, it's actually going to change things quite a bit. Now, after death, you're going to respawn at your closest settlement and actually inhabit the body of a settler there. And then whatever items you actually had on your character will be left on a skeleton at your original death spot, and you'll have a quest to go fetch those items. Now, I really like this mod. I feel like it's a great mod to start off with a new playthrough. It does a number of things. First and foremost, it makes the combat way more enticing because you have true consequence here. I personally play survival with a quick save mod because I really don't like just having progress undone, so it just shifts you back a bunch of time. But in this, although yes, you obviously lose progress, not really. Everything you did is still existing in the world. You just have to go get your items back if you want them. But outside of that, you technically could resume that quest wherever you just left off. And even beyond that, it actually gives a totally new use and function to settlements. This is compatible with sim settlements, as you hopefully saw. I was actually using it in the background at that settlement I respawned at. Plus, if you actually kit out all of your settlers, you will have a bunch of different characters that you can actually use the equipment of. It gives totally new reason to having a wide arsenal and having a bunch of things stored at your settlements, not just on your character. It's definitely not super polished now. I know he plans on updating even further, but what we have right now is a really cool and interesting mod and something that I think I might just start a new playthrough with. And then last but not least, we do have the shield bubble. What this is going to do is as you're in combat and you actually activate this item, it's going to give you a little bubble shield around you. This will protect your character up until a point and of course give you a pretty cool looking shield around you. If you start to run or sprint too quickly, it does get a little bit glitchy, but largely it actually does stay centered on your character and look quite nice. Even beyond that, actually after using this, it does go on a 30-minute recharge, and I believe that's 30 minutes in-game time, as well as lasting for 30 minutes in-game time also. And something I really like is there's a pretty cool way to get it. You have to do a quest where it involves going to a bunch of different locations, getting a bunch of different pieces of equipment to actually build the thing up. And although it's definitely not the most lore-friendly thing in the world, it is fairly lore-friendly in the way it's implemented. So that pretty much wraps it up for this video. If you guys saw yesterday, there was actually a video about a Starfield Twitter account that was pretty suspicious and a website. In that video, if you haven't seen it, I'll have it linked at the end of this. I largely conclude that the Starfield Twitter account is just a hoax and some fan doing it. But there's actually been further evidence that makes it seem like the website is in fact real. Again, I'll have a link to the full video at the end of this one, but either way, that Twitter account later on in that day came out as being a hoax. At the time of recording the video, he hadn't posted in 2 years, and more or less what happened was it was a subscriber of mine or somebody that saw my video on that Twitter account and then actually started being active on the Twitter account again. He tweeted a bunch of miscellaneous things, and then eventually again he came out as it being a joke. Well, all in all, I ended up messaging him and buying the Twitter account. Originally, I did it just to try and out the person to see if they'd go after the money who was running it, but then I figured why not? I mean, it's a pretty sound investment if we get a Starfield game. I don't really intend to make it a troll account or anything like that. I actually reached out to Bethesda almost immediately after buying it to see about giving it over to them, but of course it is the weekend, so I'm expecting them to get back to me maybe Monday or Tuesday. But otherwise I figure I could either use it myself or like a Starfield News Twitter, I know that's like a thing, or I've had a few people offer to buy it off of me even. But again, I'm just trying to see if Bethesda wants the account first because, you know, it says Starfield game. It's a good Twitter account for Bethesda to have if Starfield turns out to really be their next game. And I don't want to hold a Twitter account that I believe is entitled to them. I don't know, I just thought it was a funny turn of events how it went from covering the suspicious Twitter account to it tweeting to owning it all in the span of a few hours. As always, again, I thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.